Boxing.com. To be joined by the former IBF middleweight champion of the world, dazzling Darren. Darren, thanks very much for giving us a bit of your time today. I really appreciate it, mate. First of all, how are you, and what did you make of the press conference today?
I'll tell you what, I never get sick of that intro, so... No, like, do you know what? It was what I was expecting, if I'm honest. Two extremely confident individuals. That filters through to the teams. You can see that both have had tremendous training camps. Ben and brother Jamie talking about how they're extremely confident their charge is going to do the job. And I just feel, well, look, if I rewind to when this fight got made, I was so excited because right then I knew there were so many different variables to how this fight could be won or lost. And when there's a fight like that takes place, for me as a fan and as a boxing purist, that's exactly what I want to see, because I look at it and I dissect the fight. I think, well, if he does this, he can do that, and if he does that, he can do that, and it's brilliant. I mean, it will be high-level chess at times. I think there's going to be a lot of thinking going on, a lot of work when they're not actually throwing shots, feints, etc. There's going to be a lot of clever moves to try and get themselves in certain positions. Yeah. They're going to try and draw out that lead so they can, try and get the opponent to fall over the front foot and counter. And yeah, I honestly, I'm buzzing. I know both fighters won't be looking past this, but the winner for this, the pot of gold's massive. Could they get the fight with Leo Santa Cruz? Not fought for 2.5 years. The super champion. I mean, it's crazy.
Let's talk about that while you touch on it. I mean, you have to try and be unbiased when I suppose, when I'm doing what I'm doing here. But it seems ludicrous at this stage that 2.5 years he hasn't boxed, and he boxed a couple of months ago, and they didn't make him fight for the title. And when he made it public that he wasn't going to put his belt on the line, they still didn't strip him. What's your general take on it? And is it one of those things where it's not just like, they should have stripped him, but it's actually pretty disgraceful that they're allowing him to have the title? What's your take?
Let's get it right. The WBA have got to make some changes. There's a lot of belts that need to be lost. They need to consolidate a few of them. And yeah, it was a bit of a shambles. Well, it is a shambles, but I personally feel that is potentially the pot of gold. I think, look, winning this regular title, go on and then fight Leo Santa Cruz, who hasn't been in a big fight for 2.5 years. I think look, imagine Conlan goes and wins. Imagine the Odyssey. Imagine that roof is coming off. But yeah, I'm so excited. I really am. I mean, it's these moments where I become a fan again, where I'm like, I take off my professional hat and I'm like, right, sit there with my popcorn, let's go.
Yeah. So break down the fight for me in terms of what you think is most likely to happen. So what is Mick's most likely? How do you see him coming out? How do you see Lee coming out? What is the most likely outcome?
For me, there will be two instant battles that will take place. It will be a battle of the jabs, who can get that range and the distance with a jab. Obviously, once you get in the rhythm behind the jab, everything follows. So that's a very, very crucial, pivotal moment, is trying to establish that jab, head and body, variation with it. And also trying to dominate and dictate centre of ring. I think whoever has centre of ring will find the right range better with that jab. You want to be having that solid base. You don't want to be retreating when you're throwing the jab. You don't want to be on the back foot. You want to hold the centre ring and ping that jab out. So I think they're the two things we'll see straight away.
Who do you see being able to get their game plan off? Which I suppose alludes to, who do you kind of think is the favourite? Who do you think is most likely to be able to get their plan off?
Well, I think, look, there's two ways to look at this. I think Lee Wood does a lot of really good work when he's not throwing shots. A lot of feints with the feet, feints with the hands. You see they're very good at sort of distance control, etc., especially in the Ben Davison camp. He works a lot on controlling the distance, but the amateur pedigree and the speed from Conlan is second to none. It really, really is. So I expect them to meet in the second of the ring. I think Conlan may have the better of the exchanges early on with the jab, just because of that superior speed.
Yeah. What about Mick's versatility in terms of his actual boxing ability in the ring? He can fight in both stances. He can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside. This is just from what I see, from what I saw just in his last fight against TJ Doheny. So yeah, what do you make of that?
that's key, because look, Mick will come out and he'll do his thing. If that's not working, he'll adapt. He can adapt. And that's where that tremendous amateur pedigree, that ring IQ, that boxing brilliance comes into play. He will adapt, and I feel that could be the difference. Don't get me wrong, I do feel Lee has the ability to adapt and is very crafty, very clever, throws a tremendous uppercut. We see against Zhu Can, the uppercut was tremendous, and there was occasions against Dehaney, Conlan was caught a couple of times with the uppercut. I noticed in the Zhu Can fight, Lee would move in an awful lot to his left, which means he'll walk on to Conlan's lead right hook. Yeah. I just feel that ability to be able to adapt will be the difference. And gun to my head, you ask me for a prediction, I go Michael Conlan points. I feel the difference in speed, work rate, that ability to adapt could be the difference.
Brilliant. Quickly, I'll touch on the other Irish fighters on the card really, really quickly. Obviously, you're a former middleweight champion. We've got Kevin AGYARKO, who's campaigning at middleweight, looks to be a tremendous talent, a tremendous prospect coming through. Firstly, what do you make of him, and how far do you think he can go in the sport?
Yeah. But firstly, I'll say, I don't know how his name written is Kevin.
Do you know what the funny thing is about that? Is that in Belfast it's pronounced Kevin. Where I'm from, in Dublin, like in the south of Ireland, that's pronounced Queeveen.
Really?
So that has two different pronunciations. Irish is a funny language. Like wherever you go in the country, there's loads of different pronunciations for everything. So it gets more complex, Darren. Yeah.
But no, I'm a massive fan of Kevin. I really, really think he's a special talent. He's got a bit of everything. He's similar to Conlan. He can adapt. You see it against Larios in his last fight. He's good on the front foot, good on the back foot. His punch selection, spot on. He's very, very powerful. And I mean, he's up there for me for the ones to watch this year and next year. Like, I mean, 10 fights, I think still, I would say still in that prospect zone. And I would say, yeah, probably one of my top 3 for ones to watch.
Class. Let's touch a little bit on Gary Cully against Miguel Vasquez. Personally, and of course there is always an Irish bias, but I think this is probably the sleeper in terms of quality fights on the card.
I said that. Right, I've said that from a technical point of view, but there's something, I've just got this feeling that Vasquez, because of that defeat to Lewis Ritson, when he should have won, let's get it right, he should have got the nod. I feel he's going to give a bit more. Vasquez isn't a loser, he wants to win. You know, Eddie said there, you could call him a gatekeeper if you like. This guy is though he's pushing on a little bit, he still has aspirations. They're warriors. And I just feel at some point he might let his hands go and try and be a bit busier than he was last time. He was pot shot in it last time against Ritson, moving an awful lot. I've just got a funny feeling he might hold his feet a little bit more. If that's the case, I spoke to Cully yesterday, and he was like, I really hope you're right. I really hope you're right, because we see how dangerous he looked yesterday. When he was letting that right hook go and the left hook, I thought, flipping it, you know, you can punch, and he would love someone to stand in front of him and trade. So though there's going to be high-level chess, it's going to be technical, I do feel at some point Vasquez is going to try and hold his feet, and it will make for a great fight.
Have you seen much of Gary, and what do you make of him? And like, I agree with you, like looking at the open workout yesterday, I mean, I've seen Gary fight, I've seen him spar, but my God, he looked good yesterday. Yeah. He just looked so fluent and flowy and snappy, and he's huge for the weight, like enormous for the weight. I've seen him spar cruiserweights, like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy he's an anomaly, you know what I mean?
What I do, look, when I look at a fighter, because I'm always thinking from a boxer's perspective, so I'm thinking, I always remember myself being a boxer, and I look at Cully and I think, how would I beat him? You know, how would I fare against him? And I look at him and I think, he's an handful. You know, he's an handful. He gets in a really relaxed rhythm quite early on. He works behind the jab. He's quite nimble and he moves really well. And he can whack. He can whack. So you think to yourself straight away, he'd be very hard to beat. And I think, you know, okay, on a negative, and this happens with a lot of tall fighters, when they're under pressure, they can come tall, and the chin can raise a little bit. So he's got to tighten up a little bit, get that chin down. But I think offensively, he's very good, and like I say, would be a very tough man to beat.
Definitely. The last Irish man on the card I'll get you to touch on is Thomas Carty, the big bomber, Thomas Carty, the big fella. What you make of Thomas? Obviously only 2-0 at the moment, but his second fight was on a Matchroom show. He's managed by MIDDLEWEIGHT. A lot of praise from the likes of Anthony Joshua, Derek Chisora, everyone he sparred, Lawrence, Dillian, obviously he sparred. A lot of big praise for him. What do you make of him so far?
I mean, he gets praise from myself also. You can see he has that good amateur pedigree, very, very good on his feet. I commentated him last time out, and I was impressed with the way he glides out of range so quickly, draws that lead and fires back with that beautiful left hand. A great lad as well. I've spent a bit of time with him, was in the lift with him, and just so he's switched on. He's not getting carried away. He lives the life. And I said to him, look, what a great time to be a young heavyweight with your ability. You know, he's still learning, he's still trying to improve, but with that technical ability, that mindset, that ring IQ that he has from the amateur setup, I think that the future is very, very bright for Thomas Carty. He's just got to keep progressing, keep learning. And like I say, I mean, you see the old guard are kind of coming to the end. They've got the AJ, blah, 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 blah. The heavyweight division's looking for the new stars. And look, we all know the following that any Irish sports man, women gets, let alone their boxers. So, like Conlan, I think there could be a star in the making with Thomas Carty, but there's a lot to learn. So I don't want to get too carried away, but I've been impressed.
Brilliant. Darren, I'm going to leave it there for irishboxing.com. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Privilege to talk to you. Thanks so much.